What's up, everybody? We are live. You are watching Just for My People, and today I have a special guest. Introduce yourself, my friend.
I'm the artist formerly known as No Stuff Foster. Y'all can call me CJ though.
Word. And I am your host, Chris Carr, representing Brooklyn Wildlife. We've been doing this series where we talk to artists and we try to get personal. We want to go past the surface and get into the meat of the subject and to be able to understand where this art comes from. You know, it is entertaining, it is fun, but there are people that make the art. I want to never forget that. So first of all, I want to thank you for making some time to come on the show.
Hey man, I'm honored, man. You know I'm always honored, bro.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, maybe just give a little brief bio, like who you are, what you do.
Okay. Once again, my name is CJ. I used to go by Nosa. I am a person first and foremost. I'm glad that you make that point. But I'm an MC, a poet, a producer, a businessman. All of those, and not by choice though. I've had to learn the business because nobody was gonna teach it to me. Um, but yeah, I'm just an expressive person, and my main way of expression is through hip hop.
Word. And in what part of the country are you?
Mobile, Alabama, all the way at the bottom. We're all like, when people say they done been down south and be like, oh, I done been to Virginia, it's like, nah. This is like, where I'm at is us and then the Gulf of Mexico. You know what I'm saying? I'm about as south as it gets.
Word. So we met each other when you were, well, I met you, I think, through Isaac, and you were going to be spending time in New York. And so we did some shows together. We all hung out. And when when you moved back to Alabama, you and your group came up to New York also. So I've kind of known you over the last couple of years. For people that don't know you, can you give some background on your music, what it sounds like, what the vibe is?
It is well, for me, music has always just been expression. You know what I'm saying? The entertainment value is secondary. But I started off doing poetry like in fourth grade. I had a temper problem. As I don't think I had a temper problem. I think the school that I was in, I went to like majority white schools until high school, and so I think I was a little bit too strong for what they were used to as far as black boys. But I had a temper issue, and my counselor told me to, I should start writing my feelings down. And in my head, I started making it a game of like, can I make it rhyme? From there, I put out my first project. Like, I'm 10 years deep now. Put out my first project in 2010, and since then, if like the vibe of it changes. I think there's a constant in that you can tell that I'm being honest, and you can tell that I'm not putting on for whatever stage of life that I'm in. But it changes depending on the stage of life that I'm in, and it just deals with real life shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not impressed by the materialism. I'm not impressed by the shallow aspect of hip hop culture, and so I make sure to not include that, in my actual works. But it's spiritual. I call it like this. Okay, I had a term for it, and I wanted to give it a whole new genre, and I'm gonna still do it. But lyrical trap, boom bap, Negro spiritual raps. That's the best way to describe what I do.
and for people that don't know or who can't follow all that at once, can you break down the components of that for them, please?
Okay. We got lyrical, you know what I'm saying, which is the focus on lyricism. Trap, because I am from the South. I do like 808s. I do like appreciated hi-hats. I like a lot of those sounds. Boom bap, once again, going back to the old golden age and the golden era, because I like that sound as well. Negro spiritual raps. I think that once again speaks from being from the South and being from the part of the country that I'm from. And I think most artists from down here, most artists of color, they have Negro spirituals incorporated in their works, whether they're conscious of it or not. It's just something that is embedded in this culture. And so that's where the term came from.
Yeah, now without trying to box things in or trying to categorize at all, but do you feel like it's really important to attach yourself to that tradition and that Southern history?
I think it's important. I don't think it's I don't think it's much of a choice.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It shapes so much of the reality growing up down here. You're very like, bro, I could drive up 65. That's the main interstate in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? It stops in Mobile. Once again, we're like the bottom. 65 stops in Mobile. But if I drive up 65 and I'm going to Birmingham or whatever, I ride through Montgomery. It's like it has to be like a 50-foot Confederate flag. You know what I'm saying? That's just waving on the highway. And these are things that you see. These are things that you're constantly reminded of. So I think whether I choose to or not, whether it's important to me or not, I think it's something that I can't help.
Yeah. And do you think musically the traditions are a bit different? I remember when I moved down to Georgia, I was surprised by how much live instrumentation or kind of like elements of musicality were involved in hip hop being made. Do you find that to be the case where you are?
Yeah, man. I think the South, we get a lot of flack. A lot of people will say, the South isn't real hip hop or it isn't real lyricism, but you got to remember the South really introduced musicality to hip hop, because before that it was all done off drum machines. It was all done from sampling other works, and there's musicality in that. But even if you listen to like Wu-Tang, I'm a producer as well, so I know a lot of the techniques that people do, and a lot of cats would sample different songs to make one song. But even when you listen to it, it's not necessarily the same key. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't necessarily match. They just put it together. Whereas down south, when you get into like, of course, Dungeon Family, which is one of my biggest influences, even UGK, you know what I'm saying? The amount of live instrumentation and musicality that they put into their music, I think it set a standard for Southern hip hop. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be that level of it. There's always going to be some melodic something going on. You see, that's like the style that then took over popular music. It came from down south, because I think because we're simpler, and not simpler in a bad way. I think a lot of cats down here realize how much melody can stay in your ear before lyrics can. You know what I'm saying? Like you can deliver the illest verse, you know what I'm saying? But it don't mean that people are going to remember it. And people can, in the moment, be like, oh, that's dope. But when they walk away, they can't recite none of the stuff that they heard. Whereas if you put a little bop to it, you put a little melody to it, it's going to get stuck in people's ear. The melody will get stuck in their ear before the lyrics, you know what I'm saying? And the lyrics can sneak their way. I feel like, especially for the type of content that artists like you and I create, sometimes you gotta put the medicine in with the sugar. What you're saying becomes second. You know what I'm saying? It sneaks in. Because sometimes I think with us trying to be, for example, Dead Prez and Outkast. I remember somebody telling me that they thought Dead Prez was more revolutionary than Outkast. And I said, I think you're looking at it through a face value. I think Dead Prez put that on as their uniform, you know what I'm saying? And they're dope as fuck. But I also feel like they limited their audience, right? Because that was the first thing that they put out. Whereas Outkast would come through with a song like Rosa Parks. Hush that fuzz. It sounds silly, but once you start listening to what they're saying, it's like, oh shit, these guys are really talking about some real life. So I think that's something that Southern hip hop is mastered.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you bring that up, because I bought the Dead Prez tape when I was living in Atlanta as I drove to Tuskegee. So I listened to that tape on my way through Alabama. But yeah, and it is something that I always appreciated. You know, I at that time period I was listening to Tila, I was listening to UGK, I was listening to a lot of stuff from down south, and the melodic elements. And then come to find out, Scarface plays guitar also. You know, like coming from Texas. Yeah, he's actually like a well accomplished guitarist. And there was this thing like in studio sessions, a lot of the Atlanta producers would bring through live musicians, and it was totally different than what I was used to in being up north. Yeah. And so with you, what was formative for you? Like growing up, what influenced you musically?
My first rap album was Stankonia. That was my first rap album. I was like 13 years old. Well, I had rap albums before then, but my parents didn't let me listen to music with cussing in it. So all my rap albums came from Walmart. So I wasn't getting the, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't getting the real experience. But Stankonia, like I remember, and this speaks on my lack of a social life at that time. But I just sit in my room, and this is when they had the booklets and they had the lyrics in the booklets. And from front to back, I learned that whole album. If you play that album today, I'm going to rap 80% of it. You know what I'm saying? There may be parts of it that I'm kind of rusty on because I haven't studied it in so long. But that was the springboard to everything hip-hop related in my life. Stankonia.
Word. And as you progressed with like your music and your art, did you then start taking in other influences, or were you majority kind of what were some of your other influences?
A lot of when I got in high school, I was really into a lot of East Coast shit because I love samples. You know what I'm saying? When Jay-Z came out with Blueprint and he made that like popular again, the sped up samples, the soul samples. So my range of influences, of course, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Dipset. I used to love Dipset. I'm kind of ashamed to say that now because I feel like they're the forefathers of toxic masculinity. But for what it's worth, I loved Dipset in high school. I had the pink tall tee. You know what I'm saying? The pink shoelaces in my Air Forces, the whole nine. So them, gospel music, just being in the church and hearing that environment, hearing the music in that environment, realizing how powerful. There was a interview with D'Angelo when he came out with his most recent album in 2015, and he was saying he was a part of the choir in church, and after a while he started understanding that what they were doing was just as important as what the preacher was doing. You know what I'm saying? So their songs were just as important as the sermons. So that influenced me a lot. Cash Money, you know what I'm saying? All of that. Crazy thing is, all of the ignorant shit played a really big part of my childhood.
Nah, I mean, it's also what was available to us. Like, I'm not quite old enough to have been, like, I was 10 in 1988. So whenever people talk about the golden age of hip hop, I'm kind of like, I wasn't. When I was in high school and it hit me, it was the Chronic. Like Dr. Dre shaped part of my high school experience. You know what I'm saying? Like I was heavy into every street rapper you could ever name from Queens. I listened to all that Mussolini and the Capone Noriega offshoot. I listened to all that.
Man.
When I lived down south, the first thing when I got to campus, there was like a basketball game and they played Mystical. And when I saw the gym go crazy and the girls are going nuts, and it was like, there I go. When I saw that, the stands were rocking. It just blew my mind. And so like, I've always, like, people who know me now would think, oh, man, you act real close-minded when it comes to music. It's like, dog, I've listened to every gangster rapper you could imagine. Like, Trick Daddy was one of my favorite rappers for a certain amount of time.
Hey, shit go hard, though.
All right? And so I then don't need that from all the other people now. Like, I kind of got my full of, I got it. I got street rap. Like, I heard so much of it.
If we're going to be honest, they did it so much better back then. They did so much better back then than the guys who are doing it now. There was, like Trick Daddy can rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, past everything else, when it comes down to the actual art of rapping, putting words together, he can do it. And all of them cats was really good at it. You know what I'm saying? They were able to create an imagery to where if you lived that life, you felt it. And if you didn't live that life, you were curious about it. And I don't think none of it, even, you know, with the Dr. Dre, you know, you got NWA, you know, they were one of the most controversial groups at the time they came out, and they had songs like Express Yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You had cats like Ice Cube, who was unapologetically gangster, but they were still putting in social commentary. They were still, you know what I'm saying, speaking on things. And to me, that's how you know that it's real. Because nobody's truly one faceted. Everybody's multifaceted. So no matter what environment you came from, you can have opinions and thoughts and views on so many different things. And I think nowadays, a lot of the street rap, and there's still cats nowadays that I listen to. It's a couple of cats nowadays who I damn sure ain't lived that life. And I don't agree with everything they say, but I enjoy what they do. But even now, you know, you got cats who give you the whole spectrum, but for the most part, the commercialized aspect of it today is just bullshit. And it's coming from people who don't even live that life. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're really involved in it, you can't just give all good. Yeah. There's no way you can see that shit and just brag all the time if you have 60 minutes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another element that we can get into a little bit later, and how things have changed in terms of where the root of who the community is we're talking to. Because part of the thing is, I know white folks have been buying hip-hop since Ice-T said it on Arsenio Hall, but there was still a thing of hip-hop wasn't pop music when I was in high school. It still had an element of it had to resonate with a community. For your work, how much do you balance your feeling of I need to express myself with people need to be able to feel it?
I don't. And that's what keeps it simple for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I truly believe that by nature, when you have something to say, somebody needs to hear. Like when something is, you know what I'm saying, in your heart and is like it's there for you to say, that means it's there for somebody to hear. Now it may not be for everybody. And there's certain ways I will say as I've grown in my journey with music and understanding music more, I know that there are certain things that can be done to widen your audience. You know what I'm saying? To widen the and you can still do it and keep true to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think I've ever switched up who I was. But I hear artists all the time talk about, okay, I need to make a song for this crowd and for that crowd. And when you hear the album, it just seems like a bunch of songs. There's nothing connecting it because there was no true expression in it. You were trying to appease, you were trying to check off every box. Like, okay, I got a song for the ladies, I got a song for the clubs, I got songs for and it's like, to me, that has to be such a tiring creative process because my shit is literally, okay, this is how I feel. How do I get out how I feel?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, why don't we just jump into it? This new project, His Son Grew Wings. I had to listen, and I hit you up when you were first dropping it, and I was like, yo, send it over. You sent it. It was kind of late at night. I was like, yo, I'll check it tomorrow. I put on the first song and was like, oh, no. I actually got to sit with this. I got it, like, because you came in on it, like I was like, this is story time right now. I can't just kind of listen to this shit. It can't be background music while I'm cleaning my house. And I got to listen to it beginning to end. And it for me was fascinating hearing how expressive it was, yet how accessible. Like without, like you're saying, it wasn't corny accessible. It was like there's poetry, there's singing, there's rap, there's meaningful, like heartfelt songs, and then there's fun and games on the shit. You know? Mm-hmm. So can you tell folks a little bit about the project and what inspired it?
Well, the original title was, and it's cool that so many people say His Son Grew Wings. My bad, there's a wasp out here, and I'm just trying to make sure you leave me the hell alone. The original idea was His Song Grew Wings, and I came up with it when I was in New York. And it was originally like I recorded a whole nother album. And it was originally just about how my journey from Alabama to New York, my song grew wings. It took me to this place. You know what I'm saying? And I really love the title because every last letter of a word was the first letter. Hey man, go on somewhere with that shit, huh? I don't want to kill you. My bad, Chris. I know this sounds real, but this is a real life thing now.
Nah, handle that.
I don't want to kill it, man, but it's trying me.
And if you need to move, that's fine. If you need to take a second to move to somewhere else, that's cool too.
Matter of fact, yeah, I'm finna take it to my room because ain't no wasp gonna come in my room.
So for people watching, we keep it real on the show, all right? This is no fabrications.
You feel me? Y'all finna see me swole up with a Give me 1 second, man.
That's all good. For people just tuning in, you're watching Just For My People. I'm your host, Chris Carr. We got CJ Foster. We're going to be talking about the new project, the new album, and their experiences as a singer, MC, poet, beat maker, and communicator. You know what I'm saying? Like a person that shares thoughts and feelings.
I like that. A communicator. I like that a lot. But originally, the song, I was thinking of it. The title was actually influenced by. Have you ever heard of a book called The People Can Fly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was gonna name it that, but I was like, I don't want to just completely jack this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, so how can I come up with something in the same vein? And so when I came up with this song with Wings, and I wrote it down, I'm like, oh snap! Every last letter of the word is the first letter of the other word. You know what I'm saying? I just thought that was such a cool idea. I never released it when I was in New York. I lacked focus. It was a lot of things. New York is a fast city. I'm coming from Alabama. I kind of just got caught up in it, and I didn't keep my focus to drop that album. So when I came home, I started Basshead Jazz, and my solo career, as far as I was concerned, I didn't see myself doing any more solo stuff. By the time I started Basshead Jazz, I'd done like 8 years as a solo artist. I found this like creatively, it's easier. It's less of a workload. I got 2 other people here with me, so I don't have to write 2 verses. You know what I'm saying? I can write an 8-bar verse and a hook and a bridge. You know what I'm saying? It just came together well. What started this reiteration of His Song Grew Wings was my father passing away. Right. And once my father passed away, it made me. I went into a place, and I've spoken on it before. Like even within Basshead Jazz, I was so angry and I was so like upset at the world that it was kind of affecting my personal relationships. And so I had to step back from Basshead Jazz for a little while and do this for myself. And when I was looking at the title again, I kept seeing son. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the only thing that was sticking out to me. You know what I'm saying? Way more than it was before. So I kind of just I redid the album and I did it in honor of him. You know, that was the biggest thing. Like I think musically, I think it's some of the best work I've ever put out. But it was never the goal for it was never for it to get 1 million streams. This was to honor my father. You know what I'm saying? And hence why it's been released the way it was. Like I didn't put it on streaming platforms. I probably will in the future when this calms down and I can actually garner some content to put it out there. But it was like I didn't want to just throw this in the wind. I didn't just want this to be a droplet in the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? Of 50 million other songs that would be uploaded that day. This was very, like you spoke about it, like it was very intentional. And I wanted everything about it to be intentional.
Oh, well, can you tell people about kind of the format of the project or some of the songs? Because like I said, you include a lot of different elements. It's not like just rap straight through the whole thing.
Straight up. It's well, I didn't write anything. One, my setup is right here. This is the mic that it was recorded on right here. And it's standing right next to my, you know what I'm saying, next to my bed with a whole bunch of clothes on it. This was like, this is it. This is where I did it at. And it allowed a different sense of vulnerability because I call it your rapper voice. When I'm going to studios and it's other people in there and somebody else recording it and, you know, people walking in and out, to me, it would build a certain type of pressure to have a certain type of confidence with what I was doing. I felt like, you know, the more people that was around, the more bulletproof everything had to be. Whereas like me sitting in my room in the most intimate, you know what I'm saying, place that I can think of. This was actually my grandmother's room from my childhood. When she passed away, I turned 15, 16, and I moved into this room as opposed to my old room. So this room in itself, this closet right here, when my grandmother passed, I watched my dad cry. I'd never seen my dad cry. It was the first time I ever saw my dad cry. I was watching him cry cleaning out this closet. You know what I'm saying? So sitting right here and recording it, it just had a lot of energy that allowed me to be more free, you know what I'm saying, more vulnerable. As far as the styles, I can't even lie, bro. Odie James, my group mate and Basshead Jazz, like stylistically, this album wouldn't be possible without him. And it's not that he sat down and he helped with the album, but when you spend so much time around somebody creatively, you just pick up on things. And with him, he was always just fearless to me. That was the thing that always got me. Like he didn't care. He didn't care if it was a rap, if he had to sing, if he had to scat. You know what I'm saying? Whatever he did to express himself, he would just do it. And being with kinship with him, I learned how to trust myself and trust my voice and know how to, you know what I'm saying, and just not be scared and try new things. And so this album was a lot of that. But it was because I didn't feel like rap would convey the emotions that I was feeling. There were certain things that you have to hear a note. Even if it's a word, like you still have to hear this word sung. You have to hear this stanza sung to really get how I feel. You know what I'm saying? And it was freeing. That's how I plan to do art from now on. I'll tell you that, you know. And it's gonna be fun. Like I've been working on stuff since quarantine, and I was telling my friends, like, I thought that after I put this album out that I'd be tired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That I'd be fatigued because it's such a heavy topic. But it's like, if anybody had watched Dragon Ball, you watch Dragon Ball Z or any anime?
I'm familiar. My roommate was a head, so I got the overlap.
You feel me? So it'd be times in Dragon Ball where like they'll go through half the fight and it's an even match, and then one of the characters would like take off their shoulder pads, and their shoulder pads was like 10,000 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So now like they're really, and so that's what it feels like after putting this album out creatively. It feels like I put the heavy shit off of me. And so now I can really, you know what I'm saying, I can bring joy. I can make songs that are just fun. I can, you know what I'm saying, do all of these other things that's not so focused on this heavy emotion.
Yeah, I mean, and I thought you did a good job of it being emotionally vulnerable and deep at certain elements, but not depressing to listen to, like not difficult to manage. For you, how was this as a cathartic process, or as like kind of a growing process, or like kind of being able to use this as a tool to sort emotions?
This was the end of my first step of grieving. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it signaled. And I put it out on my father's birthday. My father passed the day after his birthday. So it was like March 29th was his birthday, and March 30th he passed away. And this year coming up, even before I put it out, like it was a lot of stuff beforehand. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like I was a nervous wreck because I was trying to get everything straightened and because to me it was like if it don't drop on his birthday, then I might as well just wait next year. Like once again, everything is intentional. I need this to drop on his birthday. But that day it was going into like 12 o'clock, going into midnight on his birthday. And I was sitting on the front porch and it was almost like he was talking to me. It was almost like you've had a year, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't here no more. It hurts. It's sad. But you had a year and now you got to pick up and handle yourself, take care of your business. And making that album, if I wouldn't have made that album, I wouldn't have been able to move forward. Right. So it was the end part of my first stage of grief. It's a lifelong process, but now it's like every year from now on, every year his birthday comes around, it's a new life. You know what I'm saying? Next year when his birthday comes around, this album will be 1 year old, and it's something that can start over and live again. And that was really important to me.
Yeah, bro. I mean, you kind of just gave me shivers right there because that, to me, is one of the beautiful elements of music is an ongoing life and like this idea of perpetuity. And with streaming and with other elements of technology, music seems so disposable. But the reality is like art lasts hundreds of years sometimes after a motherfucker makes it. That's amazing, you know? And so then what do you want to leave the world? And now you have a project that like no one else could have written, no one else could have made. That's like you.
Thank you, man.
You know, in terms of some of the songs, can you tell people some of your favorites or some that like stood out for you in the creative process?
Double XL. I remember making it. Like I said, I didn't write any of this, so it was literally like a process of me hearing beats and being like, all right, cool, uploading the beat and sitting here and just humming and until something came out. And so after Double XL was made, I remember thanking God, like, thank you for giving me this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not planning on doing anything. You know what I'm saying? This is just what's coming through me. So it was like, and it was so celebratory. And I knew that had to be in the beginning of the album because I knew the album was going to go. So it's like fed righteously, like even the way everything happened, like 2019, New Year's of 2019, my sister got married. And it was a big, you know what I'm saying? It was a big thing. It was a whole bunch of family, this, that, and the third. And looking at, you know, the fact that my father passed 2 months afterwards is like, yo, God put this here to fill me up. Because he knew, you know what I'm saying, what I was going to face later on that year. And I felt that way with the album. It was like, let me put this here up at the front so people can get, you know what I'm saying? It could be fun. It could be carefree because we're going to go into deep territory and you need to be cool to be able to do that. Other than that, I'll say 92. 92 is one of my favorites because that has like a lifelong friend on the feature. And he's one of the best rappers that I know, but he's never taken it as serious as I. And so for him to be able to do that and knowing his story and certain things, like my friend, his name is Mike McNeil, go by Michael Campbell. And he was a all-star football player. Like all throughout high school and college, he played at Auburn, won a national championship with Auburn.
Goddamn.
With Cam Newton. Yeah. He played with Cam. And so he was slated to go to the league, but he got in trouble. He got caught up and got into a situation. And that's what, like, the line where he says, looking back, I could have done better. Looking back, I could have won medals. Like, for me to know his story, you know what I'm saying? Like, that choked me up. And he's the first person I called when my father passed. His father was murdered when he was 12. And we met when he was 14, I was 15. And so he's always dealt with that loss for as long as I've known him. So as soon as it happened, he was the first person I called. And he was one of the people that kind of, through the first couple of weeks, the first month, you know what I'm saying, when it seemed unreal, he was one of the main people that was in my corner. So for people to hear that and for so many people to like it, because a lot of people like that song. And it's just tight to me because it's like, yo, this is my real righteous friend. This is not like my rap homeboy This is not somebody that I met along the journey, and I'm grateful for all of those relationships. But this is like a day one individual. Other than that, I like Give and Take. Give and Take was the first song that I recorded for it. Okay. And that one, that was a psalm. You know what I'm saying? Like how the Bible got the book of Psalms where David is just like singing to God in pain. You know what I'm saying? That's what that was for me. And that's when I knew I had to create a body of work around it. You know what I'm saying? And that was the first time trying, not writing. It was the first time with everything. And when I did that one, I was like, okay, it showed me that I was capable of doing an album full of that. So those are like my personal, and Cocoon Theory, the last one. Yeah. Because Cocoon Theory, I was stuck on it for a while. Like how I'm going to end the album, I don't know. I had like 3 other songs that I was trying to work on. But when I heard the beat for Cocoon Theory, I found it. It was on my phone. And I remember driving to the store to get some raw papers. And literally by the time I got back from the store, I had the song. You know what I'm saying? Just from repeating stuff in my head, it just came to me and it was a perfect way to close it out. So those are my favorites.
Word. Now you mentioned a couple times of, in a way, letting the music or the art come through you and kind of positioning it more as like as an artist being a vessel. How do you connect your spirituality to your music? Because I mean, it's something we've talked about, but I feel like often artists have to sublimate or like hide their connection to the universe, to God, to their, whether it's spiritual or religious understanding. And you don't hide that. So like, how do you feel that connection is involved in your creative process?
It's divine, you know, and with that being said, you know, there's certain things I can't say. There's certain places I can't go. You know what I'm saying? For me to, not saying that I can't say I can't go, because I feel like your testimony is your testimony. You know what I'm saying? Where you've been, what you've done, what has got you to this point, it is what it is, and it shouldn't be hidden. But there's a certain spirit that I can't partake in. Right. You know what I'm saying? As far as bragging or being proud about the things that I've done that I know are wrong. Other than that, like it's always been, it's crazy because, you know, we've talked, you know exactly what it is I believe in. And moving up to New York, being what people consider Christian, I hate that title because I really don't fool with religion. You know what I'm saying? People be so confused about that. I don't fool with mainstream religion. I do believe in the Bible. I do believe, you know what I'm saying? Like my idea of God isn't abstract. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I have a connection to him. But being in New York, when I was up there, it seems like it was almost a foregone conclusion that it was cool for people to say, oh yeah, man, niggas on that Jesus shit. You know what I'm saying? Like in kind of like a derogatory term. And there'll be cats who'll come to me and they'll talk like that. And then when I tell them that's what I believe in, it's like they're trying to school me or they're trying to educate me and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, then this is a side, because I am very humble, but I am also very aware of who I am, what I am, and what I can do. You know what I'm saying? And the humility comes from that. But some of these cats is like, bro, you talking to me, you just seen me perform at a level that you trying to get to. You know what I'm saying? Now you telling me that the whole base that gives me that, you know what I'm saying? Because that's all I give it to. I give it to God. So the base that gives me all of that, you feel like I need to be educated on this, but I'm doing something that you can't do. Right. Or you know what I'm saying, you would like to do. So it will always bug me out, but I like using it as a platform to let people understand that, okay, yeah, I believe in the Bible. I believe in God. I believe in Christ. One, I'm not perfect. You feel what I'm saying? Like I will show you my flaws before anything else, because to me, that's what gives glory to God, is that I can show you my flaws. I can tell you I'm not perfect. You can see me fall. You can see me fall short, and you can still see me win. Right. It wouldn't be as important if I came here dressed like the Pope, or if I was a priest, you know what I'm saying, or was somebody that you already considered to be holier than now, you know what I'm saying? And also to just, you know, when those chances come, to educate people on what it is I believe. Because if you think that, you know, TD Jakes or Creflo Dollar or, you know what I'm saying, any of Joel Osteen, if you think any of these cats are reflective of what I believe, then, you know, cool. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
And I think there's also another element, like with anyone in my family, even if they weren't necessarily religious, if they were oriented to community, there was some underpinning of a spirituality or connectedness to, whether it's the planet. They may not have been environmentalists, But their whole thing was, you got to respect the planet. You got to respect Mother Earth. And they may not have been on Yoruba, or they may not have gone to some like back to Africa religion, but they still had this attachment. And a lot of the artists that I met when I was coming up, that was almost a given of respecting the ancestors, respecting the planet, respecting yourself. And it come in various ways. And so it's almost funny to me now when people want a total disconnect from that, or want music to like be devoid of meaning, that it can't mean anything, or it can't be tied to anything deeper. And the way I kind of came up was like, whether it was drum circles or dancing, everything was an expression of all that is. You know what I'm saying? And so like it's interesting to see. I think I appreciate that in your work, and that it's not heavy-handed. Like I'm never sitting there listening like, bruh, you beat me in the head. But it's palpable. Like you can feel it, and that to me, I think creates a meaning. And something I've been trying to talk to artists about more is purpose and meaning, and where that sits for them. And so for you, when you think about your art, do you feel like there is purpose to it, or like meaning to it outside of yourself?
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be as passionate. I wouldn't be as passionate about it if I felt like it was just me. Yeah. If it was just something to do with me, you know what I'm saying? And it'd just be something I do on my downtime. If it's just me, it's so much stuff that I'm into that it's just me. You feel what I'm saying? Like nobody will ever know that that's what I'm into because it's for me. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be as headstrong about letting people hear it if I felt like it didn't have a purpose or it didn't align in a certain type of way. And I think to speak on the lack of it, or people trying to make it the lack of it, that's the funny thing about capitalism, is that anything can become a hustle. You know what I'm saying? And so what you'll have is, and that's what's going on. That's why it's so much trash ass music, because there's a lot of people who not supposed to be making music. This is not what you're here to do. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what it feels like to live and breathe this shit. You don't know what it feels like to not be able to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't stop rapping if they cut my tongue out. I would still be thinking of, you know what I'm saying, things to say in my head and rapping, writing it and giving it to somebody else. And so it's like, if you don't have that type of passion about what it is that you're doing, and it's not just with rap, just with anything. And I think COVID is doing a good job of sitting people on their ass and making them wonder, okay, what was I doing any of this shit for?
Right.
What was I really, you know what I'm saying? I think it's a good time for artists, for whoever you are, to really sit down and think, okay, is what I'm doing really aligned with anything? Does it serve any deeper purpose? What, or is it just for the here and now? And the sad part is, not the sad part, because I'm learning to appreciate the balance in duality and in polarity. So there's a lot of people who figure out that what they're doing is for naught and will still continue to do it. You know what I'm saying? But for the people who have purpose and do have purpose behind their work, I feel like it hits different. Yeah. You can tell, you know what I'm saying? Like, even without listening to them, if you see them, if you're in their presence, if somebody is walking in their purpose, it's just a different type of aura about
it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I've never been a person that would say, well, if I wasn't rapping, I'd be kicking in your door, robbing you. Like that, I wasn't going to be robbing people. But I am one of those people that is like, music saved my mental life. Like doing art and doing music, even if there are times where I was about to get evicted, I was happier in the life I had been able to build for myself than when I had been in a more structured or more imposed kind of lifestyle or environment. And the ability to know myself and know other people has come through music in a way that no other kind of exchange has allowed for, and the type of interpersonal closeness. And to be honest, and being a young Black man, freestyling and being in a cypher was the only time I'd be in a room with 5 or 10 other young Black men where people said what they really felt, and the way they weren't ashamed to talk about their frustrations, their joys, their dreams, their anger, and you couldn't hide it. It was, we freestyling. It's going to come out.
Yeah.
You know, and so now that you've released this project, what do you, once we're allowed to do stuff, what do you want to do with it? Are you a person that likes performing, that likes touring? Is this going to be something that you put legs under and kind of keep pushing?
Yeah, it is. At first it wasn't going to be, but I've had a couple real close friends of mine, like, and their responses to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when you cool with somebody and you've known them for years and like, okay, you doing music, they're not gonna just shit on it. They're all it's horrible or it's garbage. You know what I'm saying? But for so long, you know, and these are stuff that I was confident about for the longest time. Be like, yeah, that's tight, it's cool. Yeah, they go, you know, they go hard, woo woo. But their responses after hearing this, it was just different, and so it made me realize, like, okay, this is something different, and I'm putting a lot of energy into finding creative ways to present it, creative ways to perform it, because I don't necessarily know if it's something that I would stand on a stage at a bar and perform. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the thing that I'm so grateful about my time in New York for, because New York showed me that hip hop belongs in art galleries. Hip hop belongs. You know what I'm saying? One of the first shows I did for you was at what was it?
Probably.
Bishop on Bedford.
Yeah, the Bishop Gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, yo, that was the first time I ever rapped in an art gallery. Like, what? This can go here too? You know, so now you know, I will be putting a lot of energy into figuring out what's the best way for people, because I think there's songs on there that they can stand by themselves. If you heard it by itself, you'd enjoy it, but I feel like overall it doesn't have the same effect unless you can hear the whole thing. So I want to do things where, you know, if it's a one-man show, me and you talked about doing a one-man show when I was living in New York. So maybe if it's a one-man show or something where it's like a little bit more dialogue in between it, make it a little bit more personal. But I definitely want to give this one, give this legs and wings. I said.
Yeah. I mean, I also found it to be with the connectivity of your music. You have a pretty strong personality, but you're also very welcoming. And I feel like sometimes bars and clubs don't let people kick it. It's like, yo, there's a club going on. It's the bar popping. People there trying to hook up, get drunk. And sometimes there needs to be a bit more like, nah, yo, talk to the person who just performed. Like, be able to get a bit deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something online about the differences sometimes in appreciation, like some of the men that you were around and some of the women you were around, and how they were able to appreciate the project. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of men listen to it with a critical ear, which it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck if it was off key or if it was, I did not give a fuck. It's not meant to be listened to like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you listen to it from a critical ear, you're missing out on everything that's being done. And I think men, because of how most men are the masculine, you know what I'm saying? But because of the way the masculine principle is set up, it's logical. You know what I'm saying? So if you listen to something with that ear, or if you haven't, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of men that I know not necessarily being in tune with their feminine, because that is definitely just like a masculine trait to me, to listen to something and to try to pick it apart. You know what I'm saying? Or to try to, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of men listen to rap albums like that,
Right.
period. Whereas the women, like, the appreciation, like, let's say I sent it to a guy that I know. He might be like, hey man, this is dope. I like it. I like the skit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may a couple of sentences. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the women that heard it was sending me pages. Just pages and pages and pages and pages of just, I feel you. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and so I think it speaks to, because it wasn't a lot of bravado. Even in the like celebratory songs, there wasn't a lot of things where like you hear a Drake song, the beat may drop out and he just says the most braggadocious shit. You know what I'm saying? So when you listen, you like, you know what I'm saying? You get that part of the song. I don't feel like this album had that for a lot of men to hold on to, and so it was just emotion. And sadly, I don't think particularly black men as a whole, you know, of course there are examples to the rule, but black men as a whole are not in a place where we're comfortable with dealing with our emotions like that. And so I think it took a lot of people back. I think a lot of people are used to seeing me confident, seeing me be strong. And so, like, bro, it's literally a time where I'm crying on the album. That wasn't a act. That actual song, there's and the song is 3:30. That's March 30th, the day that my father passed. And there's a line in the song where I said something about looking at my phone and I might snap, seeing the last text he sent and I didn't write back. And that's, you know what I'm saying? That was a moment that I had to come to fruition with. Like I had to come to terms with in that song. It was like, damn, his last text, I didn't even reply. I ignored it. You know what I'm saying? And in trying to do that line, I choked up and I just started crying. And my sister came into my room because she heard me crying. And I kind of just cried on her shoulder for a little while. And when I came back to the mic, I realized that it had been recording the whole time. So I was like, oh, snap. You know what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't even something that I was trying to get out there. But the fact that that's how it happened, I'm like, okay, cool. That we're going to go there. So I can see how I can make people uncomfortable if you used to seeing me in one light and, you know, the next second you hearing me boo-hoo sob it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's intense, man. And I think that's something that's rare in the sense of I either see people who don't care about the music, so they're like, no, I'm not overproducing it. I just go in, I say whatever, it doesn't matter, put their music out. Or other folks where it's so purposeful, they like, oh, I wouldn't let a moment like that through. I'd have to edit that out. I'd have to change it, or I'd have to re-record it in a way where I'm more comfortable with it. With you sharing your truth outside of music, do you also then write poetry that you put in a book form? Like, do you? What are other ways that you communicate yourself to folks?
I'm working on it. I hear it a lot. I hear a lot of people say that I should do more writing. And it's things that I feel like as far as hip hop and rap in general, like side note, like me and my little niece just recorded her first song yesterday. And she's 10 years old and she's amazing. She's amazing for that to be her first song and the way she carried herself. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, righteously, y'all got about 3 more years of music from me before I turn around and just start investing into her. You know what I'm saying? So she can really do this, that, and the third. So now I'm thinking of, okay, on the intel, because I've been doing this for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And mainly doing this for 10 years. I'll never put rap down. I'll never put hip hop down. But I am at the point now of considering, okay, what are other means of expression? Because I'm seeing people respond. You know, I may say something on Facebook, on social media, and people respond to it a certain type of way. Like, okay, so right now, I'm working on stories. I got a couple stories in mind. No actual works of poetry. I want to be able to sit down and once again intently, when I do put a book of poetry together, it be intent. You know what I'm saying? It be purposeful. It's not just like, okay, these are all the poems I've ever written in my life. Here y'all, you know what I'm saying? Here y'all go. But all of those things are on the horizon. Okay, for sure.
Good. All right. Well, before we get out of here, is there anything you want to let people know? Anything you wanted to share with people that's been on your mind, or just this is your chance?
Okay. I will say that I don't think things are going to be the same after this. There's no way of this playing out in my mind that I can see things being the same, and it's not to scare people. It's not, you know what I'm saying? I don't believe fear-based shit work with anybody, but I just I'm begging everybody to take this time and realize what's important. Hold on to what's important. Be grateful for everything that's in front of us right now. You know what I'm saying? Because in a moment's time, that's one of the biggest things that I had to learn from my father passing. We were supposed to go to dinner to celebrate his birthday that night. You know what I'm saying? And we never made it to dinner. You know what I'm saying? So it's like whatever it is and whoever it is you have around you, appreciate them right now. Let them know that they're appreciated. And shit, we'll see you on the other side. You know, I love everybody for real. But I you know, just understand what's important and keep that close to your heart right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've said it before, but I'll say it again, that I appreciate you with some of the folks who know with, you know, I had surgery this summer and was dealing with like melanoma shit and was freaked out about life. When y'all were in town, we did a show and I hadn't been going out. I'd maybe been to a very few number of events that were like by choice. Like I had some things I had to do, but I remember hosting y'all. And on my way to y'all show, I had an anxiety attack. I had a huge fucking breakdown. I was sitting out in front of the spot crying, worrying about, was I going to stay alive type shit. And I remember thinking, I'm just going to go back home. Melissa can hold it down. She knows how to run the shit. I trust her. Y'all know what y'all are doing. I'm going to go back home. And instead I came in and I hadn't been scheduled to perform. You gave me like a good 8 or 10 minutes. I did some poems I've been working on. And it was so reinvigorated my spirit, bro. And I remember watching y'all and seeing that mix. I like with Odie, I ain't seen somebody do that type of shit in so long. to where
Hey,
and the
he's
way
different.
the three of y'all work together too. Like it was like a group. Like it wasn't just three different people doing three different things. That man, I sat there like, I'm so glad I came. My anxiety dissipated. I wasn't worried about a whole bunch of shit. I was able to vibe and share fellowship. And so I want to say I appreciate you for that. And we've talked a bunch just like outside of rap shit, just catching up, whatever. And it's always good that to be in contact with you. And I'm glad you got this album out, and I'm glad now other people can be in contact with what you're working on and can get the vibes, you know?
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, yo. Like it's mutual, man. It's mutual. You, the time that I met you was a really big time of growth for me. And it was a transitional period of me going from thinking one way about things into being way more open minded, you know what I'm saying, is to other cultures and other perspectives. And you and Brooklyn Wildlife and like it plays such a part in that. Like, bro, you have no idea how many people know who you are in Mobile. Because I can't speak of my time in New York. I can't talk about the times in New York and not talk about Brooklyn Wildlife, not talk about, you know what I'm saying, the things that you invited me to. I'm gonna tell you, bro, there was one show that it was your birthday show. And I remember because I was and I remember like because to me, from the outside, Brooklyn Wildlife always had two sides. You know what I'm saying? You had like the more spoken word, hip hop oriented side, and then you kind of had like the freaky shit on this side. You know what I'm saying? I feel like out of respect, you always invited me to the more hip hop, you know what I'm saying, type side. But I missed the show and you asked me to come through and do your birthday show. I was like, man, I already missed this one show. I gotta come through for my mans. And they had a guy out there. I can't say guy because I don't know. I don't know what pronoun this person
Right.
would like to go by. But they were born a man, and they had on like the fishnet, the red fishnet, and they had like bra and panties on underneath. And I remember dude took his coat. My bad. Once again, they took their coat off because I was suspecting the whole time. I'm like, I remember seeing them, and I remember seeing like the blonde hair, but I saw their hands, and their hands were massive. So I'm like,
right.
you know what I'm saying? I don't. So I was suspecting the whole time. And so when they took the coat off, I remember it was a lot of folks who was with Mandela with the Black God Pantheon. All of them cats like immediately left the stage. They went to the back like, nah, we not dealing with this. We not watching this. And I challenged myself. To be like, bro, sit here and watch this person from a completely different walk of life that you don't understand and try to gain understanding from them. You know what I'm saying? Listen to what they have to say. And I remember from that performance, the main thing that I got was like, this person is in a lot of pain. They're in a lot of pain. You know what I'm saying? And that moment taught me so much compassion. It taught me so much, you know what I'm saying, of, okay, bro, I may not agree with it. I may not think it's right. I may not, you know what I'm saying? But those are my beliefs. Those are my views. None of that changes the fact that this is a human being standing in front of me, and this human being is deserving of respect. Is deserving of, like, it was such a big moment. I tell people about it all the time. It was it was literally a switch hitting my head because I was finna do the same thing they did. Because I remember their penis came out. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be all the way honest. Their penis came out. So I'm sitting up here like, yo, this is. But I challenged myself to be like, bro, just sit here. And from challenging myself to do that, it just opened my mind to so much respect, you know, all around. That's something that I feel like you've exuded. That's something that I feel like in being in the scene in New York, it's real easy to get caught up in the whoop wop and who don't like who. And you know what I'm saying? It's real easy to get caught up in that. And Brooklyn Wildlife was one of the sacred spaces for me that I didn't have to worry about none of that. You know what I'm saying? It was just, if I came out here, it was going to be good people. We were going to be from different walks of life. We was going to be respectful of each other, and we were going to commune. And I think spaces like that are so important, and people like you who cultivate spaces like that are very important. So it's a pleasure on my end as well, man.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And I had planned before this goddamn pandemic. I had planned to do a Southern tour. I've been talking to my homies in Atlanta, and my goal was to try to drive from Atlanta and then go through as far as I could. If I could get to New Orleans, then stop where I could. And definitely going to try to check you. I got one or two folks out in Mississippi. I do have some folks in New Orleans. So once things kick back up, hopefully I can come visit y'all down there, and we can do something in your neck of the woods, because it was fun having you up here, but I want to see what it's like down at the bottom.
Hey man, I look forward to it, man. We've been building a lot of things down here that's gonna be good. Like I will say, like when I first moved down, if you would have said that, I've been like, hey, wait a second, because the culture ain't, you know what I'm saying? The culture ain't there yet. But we've been building a lot of things in the time that I've been back to where I really feel like it would be something that's eye-opening for people. So we're gonna do that.
All right, bet. Well, I appreciate it, man. Let people know how they can find the album and the best way to get it.
Okay, yeah, you can go. You can follow me on social media, CJ Foster, SeeJFoster. If you look on Instagram, it's on Bandcamp. It's links in my profile. If you know me, you can hit me up and ask me for the link, and I'll send you the link. And that's where it's at.
All right, and the name of the album again is
His Song Grew Wings, or His Son Grew Wings, depending on how folks want to read it.
All right, bet. So again, we got CJ Foster. This has been Just For My People. I am your host, Chris Carr with Brooklyn Wildlife. Yo, and thanks again, bro. Blessings.
Love.
All right, peace. Awesome.